It's the Elsa Kurt Show with Clay Novak. Serving up trending news and conservative views. Brought to you by the Elsa Kurt Collection. And Refuge Medical. And now, it's time for the show.
What up, my friend? How are you?
Good.
I am doing good. I'm laughing at myself here. I wear, believe it or not, guys, these glasses do come off of the top of my head, and I'm wearing them most of the time when I'm doing computer work, as I would be doing for prepping for this. And I have a tablet in front of me, so I'm actually going to hold it up so you can see how. So I have my tablet in front of me, which has our topics and anything notes I want to read. And every time I take my glasses off, like everything is so blurry. I'm sure so many of you can relate to this, but I have increased the font size on this, so it's ridiculous. And if you guys could see it, I'm not showing you this. It's just huge and it's just absurd. So I'm laughing at myself. Anyhow, we have a whole bunch of great topics. Great job, Clay.
Yeah, busy week, obviously. And just so you don't feel bad, I'm the opposite. So I normally will wear contacts, except when I'm doing this. Because I'm nearsighted, and so I take my contacts out for this. But when I'm like out and about and I have my contacts in and I have my phone, I like the text on my phone is increased. It has to be, because otherwise it's blurry because it's too close, and I got to do the old man, like, stick and I can't do that. So
I get so mad when people thank you. I get so mad when people do they'll hold their phone out to you and they're like, hey, look at this, and they put it like right up to your face, and you're like, whoa, settle down. Put that thing on the floor so I can read it from here. Yeah, I can't win. I'm just banged. But
yes, we got, I think 7-8 topics, a little bit of politics, actually a lot of politics. We always do politics, but a little bit of sports, maybe some other stuff at the end. We'll see.
Yeah, here they are, guys. Here's what we got coming.
Tonight, we have it all. Epstein files blowing open after years of stonewalling. Fresh calls to boot justices off the Supreme Court. And Marjorie Taylor Greene lighting the NDAA on fire. The Pentagon is under fire over Pete Hegseth's drone wars. A Christian student in Oklahoma pays a price for speaking truth. And the left wants Jasmine Crockett in the Senate, while Jimmy Kimmel gets yet another year to sneer at you from late-night TV. We'll finish on sports, where the Baseball Hall of Fame still hates juicers, and NFL fans keep pretending Kaepernick is coming back.
Oh my, we told you we got a lot of stuff for you. There's a bunch of things. Let's go right off the top here. The Epstein files crack open. How about that? Will the truth finally beat the spin? I don't know. I mean, it was how many years? Years of excuses. A federal judge just gave the green light for the DOJ to unseal the grand jury. There's a lot of interesting things here about this, as usual, right? Grand jury records in the Ghislaine Maxwell case, thanks to the new Epstein File Transparency Act. We talked about it last week, didn't we?
Yeah, a little bit. The act itself is interesting because it's a very all-encompassing kind of concept. So, with Ghislaine Maxwell, however you pronounce her name, I've never figured it out. Her trial is a linked but separate trial, right?
Right.
And grand jury is usually sealed. Like any testimony, anything that's introduced in a grand jury, unless it's also in the trial, is usually sealed. It's locked away. But the Transparency Act, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, opens everything up, and it brings in everything that has to do with Maxwell because it's related to Epstein. So it's an interesting ad. The question is, does it matter?
I know. Yeah, it is. That is really a great question, because I don't know. We've been talking about this, analyzing it, not just us, everybody with the internet, and has been, analyzing this whole thing and giving their perspectives and opinions and all of that. And I just feel like, and we've talked about this before as well, I feel like there has been this level of apathy that has, gone to, and they're downplaying it. They're really downplaying it too. They're saying, don't expect too much from this. There's thousands of pages here, but don't expect too much from it. So what do you make of that even?
Yeah, I think, the one thing that the judges have continually said is that, privacy and protection for the young ladies, the victims in this entire thing, is paramount. So anything that has the potential to expose them, any information that could like somebody could puzzle piece together who it's referencing, et cetera, is all going to be redacted to protect the women involved. Now, when you do that and you leave it that wide open, appropriately so to protect those young women, you're also going to mask some things that people really, really want to know. Right. And I think my expectation is this is going to be disappointing, as it has been thus far. Now, I do know there are some of the victims have advocated for releasing everything, including their own names, and have threatened to even come out in public and say, listen, we will tell you who's on the list. We will tell you who was where, when, and all of those other things. My expectation, though, and it's, I'm not opposed. I don't dislike Pam Bondi, but she's been slow rolling this so much, and there's a lot of angst over releasing it and why it hasn't been released, and it leaves for a lot of speculation, et cetera, et cetera. But I think this is going to be, as with everything else, very underwhelming. Yeah.
And because it's been teased for so long and, resisted for so long, I just don't know. I mean, we've long passed the point where anybody believes anything. And this is a running theme. So even if they do, well, not if, even when they do release everything that they're going to release, nobody's going to believe it. Nobody's going to believe that. They're either going to say, that's not all there is. They're lying. There's no winning here. The trust in any government entity, we are in such a unbelievably bad way in this country, in this world, with belief in anything that the other side has to say. And I'm frankly, and I know you guys hear me say this so often, I am so tired of it. It is so exhausting for everyone, because all it is people just shouting back and forth at each other that they're lying. You're lying. You're lying. No, you're lying. No, everybody seems to be lying. This is another case of that. I mean, how do you, and it's a fair question. How do you trust it? How do you trust it? So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
And it's become, the boy who cried wolf. There's been I don't know if there's been actual promises of what's inside. But there has been a lot of speculation, which has grown into expectation. And now it's, things like this. Oh, you're going to get the, the grand jury from the Maxwell. Like, this is going to be where the meat's at. Nothing. Right.
Yeah. Big nothing burger.
Right. And then on the flip side, I know people who literally end every social media message with release the Epstein files. It doesn't matter what they're talking about. Like, it could be talking grocery shopping, and then they put that at the end. Right, which becomes like you don't even see it anymore. So, I think we are in a place where no matter what happens, expectations are so high they're never going to be met. And unless this has, unless there's some massive release that comes with every single name of every single person that's ever been rumored to be near this thing, and then throw a huge bombshell on top of it, nobody's going to be satisfied no matter what happens. No matter what's in there, truthful or not, it's all going to be a disappointment.
Yeah. And let's be real, the goalpost will get moved, because now once it's released, where's the accountability? Who's getting arrested? Who's getting their name blasted across there? Whose career is ending? Whose political career is ending? And if we don't see those types of consequences from whatever name releases that there are, what's the point of everything? Like, just to know, just for the sake of knowing? I don't want to know just for the sake of knowing so I can say, aha, or I knew it, or be shocked, or whatever. It's not that I don't care about that. I care more about what comes next. And that is where we're going to have the next big problem, because if there is no next after that, meaning consequence for any of this, again, these victims still get no vindication. We've seen this happen over and over again throughout history. Somebody, famous, wealthy, whatever the case is, gets accused, caught, proven to be guilty of something, whatever it is, whether it's being, wearing blackface in the 80s or raping somebody. And we're literally going the whole gamut here because it is that vast. A few years goes by and then they come back into public eye. They do their little PR damage control and they're just right back on top again. how is that helping any victim for just simply to have their name come out? And I don't know. I mean, I guess that's what it comes. I hope that's what it comes down for everybody in their minds, not the I just want to hear the dirt and the nitty. Like, remember, there's actual victims. There's people whose lives have been, ruined, and they're trying to rebuild. So I hope they truly get justice.
Yeah, the only people who've been held accountable in this entire thing so far, in any way, shape, or form, are Epstein himself, who's dead, right? Paid the price. A lot of speculation there, but we'll leave that one alone. Maxwell, who's in jail and will be probably forever, and Prince Andrew, or Andrew.
Andrew.
No longer Prince.
That's right. No more Prince.
But he's been held accountable not by a court system, but by his own family, right? Yeah. And everything that comes along with that. Other than that, nothing. And let's be honest, folks, you could go, if you wanted to go strictly legal on this, you could hold pilots accountable, right? Transporting minors. Yes. Right. They know who's on the manifest on every flight that they take, right? Because they're responsible. Flight pilots, flight crews, boat crews, staff at the island itself. Every one of those people can be held accountable. And literally, we have seen nothing so far. And everything that you were saying, we can think of the big names who have been held accountable for things that have happened horribly, right? Bill Cosby, Weinstein, probably Kevin Spacey. And that's about where the list ends. And we know there's so much more that has gone on and continues to go on. Right. Probably what's his name? Danny Masterson is probably the other one. But really, that's off the top of your head. I can't think of anybody else. And that's what I want, is what you were talking about, which is the accountability. Knowing is right. And I hate to say cancel culture, but it kind of does its own thing. And a level of accountability there, but we want the legal accountability that goes along with stuff like this. And we're not getting it. We're probably not going to get it. And it's going to just continue to be a disappointment for everybody.
Yeah, it is. It will become another version of the nothing burger, I think.
Yep.
It'll be the big flurry for a minute. Maybe we'll get some shocks in there. Maybe I feel like I doubt it too. I mean, I don't even care about the shocks. I don't care about the, so-and-so was on that list. Oh my goodness. No, because nobody's going to surprise me at this point. You can't.
It would have to be astronomical. It would have to be like the Dalai Lama. Like, right. You know what I mean? It would have to be something crazy like that. But other than that, I mean, Bill Gates' name has been thrown around and
forever.
The list of speculation is so grand that the actuality is just going to be, a disappointment no matter what.
Yeah. So I don't know, guys, my position on this is, hey, great. It's finally getting released, even though they said for years can't be done. And then all of a sudden with a stroke of a pen and now it's done. So that's a little eyebrow raising. As I joked with Clay before, I can't really raise my eyebrow currently, but if I could, my eyebrow would be raised. As far as, anything else to do with this, I personally will not be impressed until I see arrests. That's the only thing that would impress me at this point. And convictions. Let me rephrase that. Arrests and convictions would be the only thing that would impress me at this point with this. And I'm not knocking anyone. I understand that this is just all part of the way these things go. But until that happens, I'll just kind of, I don't even know if I'll do a slow clap, Clay. I'll just be like, okay. Right? Oh, what do we got next? Well, I mean, we're kind of staying in the family of these conversations, right? Sure. It's a good little segue. Everybody wants somebody off the Supreme Court. And this is really interesting because I had to do a little bit more. I had to even double check with you, Clay, right beforehand. Like, wait, are we talking Ketanji Brown or are we talking about Alito and Thomas? And so technically we're actually going to talk about all of it because both sides of the political aisle have decided that the best way to save democracy is to shove inconvenient justices off the Supreme Court. So it's a good conversation. What are your thoughts there, Clay? Yeah,
so it's stay on the GOP side, and we don't, we all want. And by design, the Supreme Court is supposed to be apolitical. We all know that that's not necessarily true. Although there have been, enough kind of centrist or surprising decisions made by the Supreme Court in the last, couple of years that it is probably less political than we realize. However, from the GOP side, the ask right now is that Justice Alito and Justice Thomas both resign while the Republicans hold power in, both houses as well as the presidency, so that President Trump can nominate 2 replacements of the GOP ilk that can be confirmed and therefore retain that GOP dominance, the 6-3 dominance that exists right now on the Supreme Court, which goes back to, and it brings up the same, argument that keeps coming around, which is term limits and age limits for the Supreme Court. One, President Trump says, I'm not asking them to do that. I don't want them to do that. They're both doing a fantastic job, and I don't want them to resign. So there's the president's position, which is good.
Right.
But it goes back to, we had the same thing with, the last few that have, passed away, while in office, Ginsburg and right. So it does beg the question, should there be a term limit? Should there be an age limit? And how would we manage those? Personally, I think they should resign, retire when they feel like it. I'm a firm believer that they shouldn't have a term limit. There should probably be a competency limit that, or some sort of competency test that goes on associated with age potentially. But age doesn't mean anything. I mean, truthfully, Alzheimer's, as probably everybody knows, can strike at remarkably early ages,
right?
Where, you start to have cognitive decline, et cetera. Anyway, I think no term limit for SCOTUS. I personally think they shouldn't resign unless they feel the need, health-wise, competency-wise. But I do think that we need to at least explore competency testing for justices of every age. What do you think?
Yeah, well, that's interesting, Clay. I need to pick your brain more, because my gut response and reaction is term limits for everyone and everything. I'm curious why you don't think so. Is it because of the length of experience that they have there? Like, what's your reason for that? Because I'm just curious.
I think by design, the idea of no term limits for Supreme Court justices was so that they could not be swayed or influenced either way, or they couldn't use their influence to stay on the bench. It was a two-way street, right? That was always by design.
Okay.
So if you say I'm in this job forever, you can't push me to make a decision in your favor because you have nothing to influence me with. Meaning re-election, another term, et cetera, which is the problem that we have in Congress right now.
Right.
It's all of the donors, right? All of that goes along with it. You don't have that as an issue within the Supreme Court. And that's why I believe they shouldn't have term limits. That's just my opinion. I think that's how the framers designed it. And I think it works personally.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I genuinely didn't understand or know. So I knew there were reasoning that I just simply didn't understand. So that makes sense, actually. Yeah. What else? Let's talk a little bit about Ketanji Brown, because obviously, so we have this whole thing, right? It's the forever left and right, and the left has been screaming about. They've been screaming about Thomas and Alito all along. They despise both of them, particularly Thomas, right? I mean, more so him than anything. Well, I guess both of them. But it's just interesting, because and the other side of it is you have her, and now the controversy with her in this moment, there's quite a few technically, but her husband's firm is tied to cases before the court. Yep. And, what a surprise, the media goes completely deaf about that, but they'll talk about Thomas's supposed, what was it? He was getting money for something.
Plane rides and some other things, I think. Yeah.
Right. So, it's just the constant, we're going to put a spotlight on this, but we're going to ignore this. So how about we do this really radical, crazy thing and apply the same rules and expectations of everyone? Can we just I know it sounds like absurd to do that, but I know it's never going to happen. I'm a realist, guys. I am a realist, and that was pure sarcasm. I knew it wasn't going to happen. But, if we're making comparisons between the two, we're talking about a woman who could not tell you what a woman was. Anybody remember that?
You
It's
provide
here.
a definition for the word woman.
Can I provide a definition? No,
Yeah,
I can't.
you can't?
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So you
I'm not a
believe the meaning
biologist.
I'm not a biologist, guys. I can't tell you what a woman is because I'm not a biologist. So, I don't know. I've just never heard Clarence Thomas say anything so absurdly stupid as that. But whatever, whatever. To each their own.
She is the number one successful DEI hire.
She truly is. She
Period.
truly is. She
Yeah.
truly is.
If you go back and you look at her work record,
Mm-hmm.
she really was never even a functioning, active judge that made a determination on anything prior to the Supreme Court.
Right.
She is, you could take that clip alone and talk about level of competency, et cetera, et cetera. And I think I've always said this. I think it was a missed opportunity for Marsha Blackburn to say, give me a legal definition of a woman. Right? And that key word, right, with her being, confirmation to be a Supreme Court justice, I think was the word that was missing, right?
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to be a biologist. I'm asking you to be a judge and an attorney. Give me a legal definition of a woman.
You're so right. Opportunity missed.
Yeah, missed that one. But regardless, she's a mess. But sticking to my own, premise, she's there forever, right? Until and the system was what it was. She was confirmed under the system as it existed. She will hold that seat forever, or until something drastic happens. There could be, like you said, there could be corruption potentially. That's the speculation with her husband, et cetera, et cetera. So, we'll just have to see what happens with her. She could be a thorn in the side of the Supreme Court for the next 40 years. And
it's insane when you think of that, right? And just to be completely fair, I'm going to give you both sides of like the argument here. So the left's argument against Thomas and Alito has been ethics crisis, loss of public trust, right-wing billionaires secretly influencing the court, flags equal insurrection. That was Alito's wife flew the American flag upside down. That was that whole thing. And wants them to resign for the good of democracy. Now, the right's argument against KBJ, sorry, is they said if Thomas's friends are a conflict, then her husband's firm is too. Undisclosed financial interests are still undisclosed. Media outrage is selective, which we know that, not principled. Ethics rules must cut both ways, which is what we were just saying. And if recusal is the expectation, then recuse. If not, stop using ethics as a political weapon. So, I mean, we're being fair here. We're giving both sides of the coin, both sets of, generalized opinions on the topic. And I think that it's simply really a matter of just what we were saying, that neither side actually wants ethics reform. They just want a scoreboard to change whenever one is in power favor over the other. So,
yeah, I think the one thing that you have never heard, not that I can recall, from the Republicans that you have heard multiple times from the Democrats, and that is pack the court. Republicans have said consistently, the system is what it is. 9's the number. We wait our turn. We wait, if you don't like it, get a better president, et cetera. They have never said we're going to swing the strength of the court by adding justices, and then while there's a Democrat in office, then we pack the court with the people that we want, and then we swing it the way that it gives us the advantage, et cetera. Which has been the argument for a while. I've never heard Republicans ever even bring that up. I may be wrong, but I can't recall off the top of my head ever hearing that. So I think that's the difference in, party ethics, which, like you said, is part of the argument with the justices themselves.
Yeah.
But when you want to change the rules, they're like an oldest child, which I always my older sister about, right? Change the rules in the middle of the game when things don't go your way. Yes. But that's how they're acting, is like an oldest child, because they're losing. They don't like it, and so they're going to just change the game itself, and that's how they want to operate. So, I don't think President Trump should. I don't think he should get involved. I don't think the justices should resign, going back to the Alito Thomas thing. And I think that they just ride it out. I think they do what they're supposed to do is SCOTUS, justices on the Supreme Court, and we just move forward.
Yeah. Fair enough. I like it. Works for me. We'll see what happens, right? Oh, what do we got next? Bombs, borders, and blank checks. MTG versus the Pentagon budget. I'm going to give this one over to you. So just a quick intro. The new National Defense Authorization Act is out, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is loudly in the no column, mostly because she hates, not because she hates the troops, but because she's tired of funding everyone's border but ours. Those are basically her words. So go ahead, Clay, give them the...
Yeah, so the NDAA is out. I have right here, this is the House Armed Services Committee's document. This is their summary document. It's 30 pages. If you, as an American citizen, and I encourage everybody to be involved, if you're wondering how and where your tax money is being spent, this is $900 billion. $900 billion, okay? And it doesn't outline where every single dollar and every single allocation goes. However, this is the bulk of it. It gives you at least an idea where it's at. One of the primary things that Marjorie Taylor Greene does not appreciate is there's $400 million going to Ukraine. So that's one of her big beefs. There's the continued support of Israel is outlined in here, et cetera. Now, I will tell you that in this 30-page document, it does give you a great feel for where the priorities lie within the Department of War. One of them, however, is not an allocation of any kind to rename it officially to the Department of War, because you can change the sign all you want on the outside of the building, but until Congress approves it, it's still the Department of Defense, regardless. Yes. But it's all laid out in here, and there's a lot of good things in here. There's the elimination of DEI and then the associated cost savings with that. There's allocations in here for or directions and guidance for improving housing, feeding of our soldiers, the process for which we procure and develop equipment. It gives direction on equipment to be purchased, things that are important to the department itself. But what it doesn't do, which bothers me, it does it somewhat indirectly, but it doesn't do it directly. I think it's very important in the National Defense Authorization Act to outline what is the greatest threat to the United States and why, and how the money is being allocated to counter that. The first thing that is specifically mentioned, the first foreign power that's specifically mentioned in the NDAA, and it's all the way in the back, is China. Now, it does not outline China as our number one threat to the United States. It does talk about Indo-Pacific influence by the United States to counter China, removing China in any way, shape, or form in our procurement and development process for defense. It talks about Israel. It talks about Russia, Ukraine. It talks about ISIS, Iran, counterterrorism, and some other things. But it doesn't say China's our biggest threat. It doesn't say anybody's our biggest threat. It just happens to mention China first. I personally think that that's a mistake. So that to me is a problem. However, the document itself is, and again, this is the summary and it's 30 pages. Okay. So you can imagine what the NDAA actually
I was going to ask you that too.
Right.
Like how many
I've read them before. I haven't read this one yet in whole, but they're big. And you really have to know 8 million acronyms to even get through it. So the summary is a good document to get into. There are, like I said, there's a lot of things in here about cost removal. There's some restoring, like this is one of the most interesting ones, and it's very Pete Hegseth. Restoring lethality and the warrior ethos is in here. And the very first thing under that heading is prohibits men and women's sports at the academies. Takes it right off the table.
Right off. Okay.
Restores meritocracy is the next bullet. Ends diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at the Department of War is the third bullet, right? Prevents a military new Green Deal, fourth bullet, right? And then expands faith providers, fifth bullet. So, that's got Pete Hegseth's name written all over it. It's okay. He is the secretary, so that's kind of the way it works. The page after that is securing the border. So you can tell where the priorities lie within this. It does kind of put a stick to big business in that, they've said, hey, we need big business to work for us, not us to work for them, which is kind of how things go in procurement and development right now. So it's a good, again, it gives a good good documentation and a good summary for all of you that are out there who want to see where your tax dollars are going. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, among others, she's just the loudest right now, has said she's not going to vote to approve this. Keeping in mind, she hasn't voted for anything since she announced her departure from Congress. She's been absent for every vote, but she said she's not going to vote for this because her explanation is that this is not America first. By sending $400 million to Ukraine, this is not America first. For supporting Israel, this is not America first. And really, to me, what she's showing is that she doesn't understand international diplomacy, and she doesn't understand that America first doesn't mean every single dime, dollar, penny of American money stays inside of America. You have to understand that us supporting other nations around the world in form and fashion, sometimes financially, benefits America.
Right.
More than not doing it. And that's where America first really lies. I've said this a million times. Ukraine to me is a NATO problem. And there is allocation in here to discuss NATO responsibilities to counter Russia. That's all included in the NDAA, but it does say that there's $400 million allocated to Ukraine itself. And that's where she has a problem. But I think it also shows her ignorance in that she has a problem with that, not taking into account the entire document.
Sure.
So that's kind of where I sit.
And particularly with Israel, I just read, I wish I had saved it so I could pull it up here, but I had just read recently, and I don't know the dollar amount, but in the language, apparently, with these agreements with Israel, is part of that is that they have to spend a certain percentage or dollar amount in the U.S. in U.S. As part of like a contingency for the support. So it's not just this, bank machine that they're taking out of.
So I can pull the book. It doesn't have a dollar amount, but I think what you're referring to is this. So it says, directs the establishment of the U.S.-Israel Defense Industrial Base Working Group to study opportunities for greater collaboration on defense production and potential integration of Israel into U.S. national technology and industrial base. So really what that means is we are pulling them in. They're becoming a partner in defense development, in which case they spend money on development and also spend money on purchasing essentially U.S. equipment for their own defense. So we're not bearing the burden for all of this, but it does help in and then you've got here's another one, establishes and authorizes $35 million for a new emerging technology cooperative program with certain partners, including Israel, to jumpstart development and testing of cutting edge technologies, including AI, quantum, cybersecurity, robotics, and automation. So there you go, right? It is about a financial partnership that benefits defense for both nations, where Israel foots part of the bill. It's not just the U.S. funding everything and then they buy the product in the end game. So
yeah, because I think the impression that the MGTs of the world are giving is that places like it, well, we'll just specifically say Israel because that seems to be the biggest issue for a certain portion there, that they're just taking and taking and taking, and there's no relationship here other than a give on our part. And that's, couldn't be further from the truth. And, we're talking about President Trump, who is the deal maker. That is his thing. Like the money, the business end of operations is his thing. He's not going to be giving and giving and giving with nothing coming back in return in some way, shape, or form. So let's be real about that. And I don't like the, I don't know if it's willful misleading or if it's ignorant misleading, but it's still misleading people into thinking that the relationship is other than what it is. So I just found that very interesting.
Yeah. And so, there's it's a good document. Again, please, if you're not familiar with defense, like intimately familiar with defense, I do not recommend you go get the full NDAA. You're going to drive yourself crazy. But this is it's the House Armed Services Committee summary document. It's a PDF. It's out on the web. You can get it. I printed it myself. It didn't take. I didn't call anybody I know. I didn't get any of those connections. Literally pulled it off the internet. And it's a summary document that I think everybody can appreciate and understand as a taxpayer. So it does give you some focus on where the Department of War is headed and how they're allocating funding for the next year. I just wish that it said in a no bones about it way, the greatest threat to the United States is, and how are we using this $900 billion to counter that? That's what's not clear to me.
Interesting. Yeah. No, it's a good perspective. Definitely. I absolutely, of course, commend you for actually getting the documents, the paperwork there, because most people, and I'm not knocking anyone. There's no shade to anyone, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, for asking questions, for raising concerns. But the answer to that is to do what Clay just did. Well, I have questions. I get some answers. I will go get those answers so I can speak on this. So, just food for thought. Anyone who's curious, take Clay up on that and go read it. I'm not going to, because I'm just not that curious, because I have you. I have you to tell me. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Let's keep going with your guy, Pete. Oh boy. So drone wars and the fog of war. Does America deserve to see the strike? What do you think about that?
There's two dangers in releasing the footage itself. So the first one is, and this is about classified capability. One is, you never want to release something that is going to tip the enemy on how you acquired that information. In other words, I don't know what kind of drone they were flying. This is really, folks, this is about the September 2nd, the double tap, as they keep calling it, or the reattack, whatever you want to call it, the two strikes on the same boat, where there's accusations of killing survivors. And so the push right now is to release the full drone footage and allow everybody to see what the vice admiral, who is the special operations commander who authorized the second strike, was looking at in the operations center when he said, yeah, go ahead, hit it again. But again, so to go back, first concern is there anything about the footage itself that would tell the enemy, how did they get that? How do they have such clear camera capabilities? How do they have X, Y, and Z? Whatever's on there, does that tip the enemy off to say, well, if they can do that, they can see this. If they have that capability, then we need to figure out a way to counter that capability, et cetera. So you never want to tip off the capability itself. In other words, the drone, the type of camera work, the type of transmission, whatever it is, you never want to tip anybody off. So if there's a risk of exposing classified capability, then no, they should never release the drone footage in any capacity. Second, if they do release the drone footage and they release it as, clear and unredacted, I can promise you two things are going to happen. One, people who have no idea what they're looking at are going to interpret it the way they want to, the way that their brain sees things. They are going to say, well, this is clearly what happened. Having no experience looking at drone footage, having never seen a drone, don't know what they're capable of, et cetera. Right? They're going to misinterpret and they're going to see what they want to see. The second part of it is it's going to be AI'd immediately. Somebody's going to take that footage, they're going to modify it through AI, and then we're going to lose track of what reality looks like very, very quickly. And it's going to be, either AI'd or edited to a point where the news outlets, as dishonest as they are going to use it in whatever form or fashion they choose.
Oh, no question about it. No question about that part. Yeah, absolutely. You just touched on such a huge, important part to all of this, that the whole AI aspect of it is so dangerous and out of control. I mean, it's beyond out of control, and you can't, it goes back to what we were talking about before. It is so hard to trust anything that you hear or see, whether it's from the government, whether it's from Joe Schmo on the internet, because it is so accessible to everyone to make these, and it's just improving and improving and improving, and even people who are well versed in being able to identify AI video or AI images are struggling. So now you take it to the next level of something like this, and like you just said, and then the mainstream media get hold of that, they run with it, and all you need to do is air it one time for it to be real, for it to be fact in people's minds. And we are in such an incredibly dangerous time with all of that. So I get it. We all we've become the transparency administration, where, they just are airing their live cabinet meetings. And I love all that. And I think that's terrific. Something like this, for all the reasons that you stated, proceed with caution, basically, right?
Yeah. And let's be honest, from the time this story broke, there has been repeated jump to conclusions and erroneous reporting from the media. The very first report that came out was that SEAL Team 6 was dispatched. This is the most absurd thing. Dispatched to fly out and kill the survivors, like literally fly out and in the water, right? Which is crazy. That was beyond crazy. Then it was, Pete Hegseth sitting in there going, hit him again, which is what happened. And then there was the order that said, kill everybody. And so, even at this point, ABC News was the first one. Martha Raddatz, who I can't stand, was like, hey, listen, here's how this worked. And now so you've got all these people, these, attorneys, former JAG officers within the Army, the military, across all branches. You've got, all these folks. The ACLU is now suing the DOJ and I think the State Department to protect these boats over this strike on September 2nd. Yes,
of course they are.
American Civil Liberties Union is suing our own government to protect people who are dragging drugs into. Anyway, regardless, I think given the opportunity and any ability to protect the integrity of the footage itself, I think that Department of War should release it. However, I think that is impossible to do, and therefore I don't think they should. That's just my perspective. And again, folks, those of you that watch or listen every week know I am not a Pete Hegseth fan. I am not trying to protect that guy at all. I just know that this is a factor of war that we have been using, a capability we've been using for the last 25 years religiously. I'm part of this, believe me. And so I think that this is really nothing new. I think it's much ado about nothing. And I'm not trying to protect the Sec War because I'm not. But I really don't think they should release the footage.
But the question is, do you think they will?
No, I don't think.
You don't think so?
Nope. Not unless directed to.
Right.
The only person who's going to direct them to do that is the president, and I don't think he's going to do it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I like it. All right. What do we got? Let's fix. Let's see. Is that the right one? Yes. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you guys saw this one, but in Oklahoma, a student says she was punished and flunked because she argued from a Christian worldview about gender in a writing assignment. She was told her views were demonic. The university now says it's just a grading issue. Of course they do. Of course that's what they say. So again, she wrote an essay from a biblical perspective describing transgender ideology. This is the demonic part. As demonic. Her instructor gave her a failing grade, allegedly calling her views harmful and suggested she should not express them. The student appealed, went public, and the university put the instructor on leave and said her conduct was under review while insisting they value free expression. So, I mean, this is the kind of thing that we've been talking about for how long now with these universities suppressing and punishing conservative and Christian speech and perspectives. You hear this, on a daily basis that somebody is, either being flunked out or being asked to leave or just simply demonized for not towing the ideological line. And good on her for coming forward with it and making it public. It's ironic, right? This is, and I don't know if this campus specifically, but a lot of these campuses have no problem hosting satanic club gatherings, but Christian perspectives, nope, that's a no.
So the kicker is it was essentially an opinion piece that they were supposed to write. It was, part of the assignment was your opinion. So she expressed her opinion. The instructor is a they, them pronoun. And so that, she probably knew when she wrote it that there was, the potential for pushback, but she stuck to her guns. Good for her. She turned in the assignment. The instructor, while she met actually every requirement of the assignment, she provided information, she provided opinion, she provided information to support her opinion, etc. She met every requirement. The instructor, it was a 25-point assignment, and I don't know what that means on the larger scale, but a 25. She gave the instructor, who is either an assistant professor or a teaching assistant, one or the other, gave her a 0 out of 25, not just partial credit, gave her no credit.
No credit.
0.
You said what I didn't like, so 0 credit.
Right.
I know I asked you for your opinion, but
And so the student, protested. She put in a formal complaint to the university, and the university, my understanding is that the university actually, they were acting but not communicating with the student until this hit the news cycle. And then when it hit the news cycle, they were like, oh yeah, we've been talking to everybody. We've been talking to the professor. We've been talking to the student. We've been talking to so-and-so. Actions are being taken. We're reviewing everything, blah, 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 blah. The student has come forward, and you're right. So the assistant, whoever the professor is, whatever the teacher, instructor is, has been put on leave. It's all being reviewed. But the student has come out and said, they weren't saying anything to me. I had no idea what was going on until it hit the news cycle. And then, of course, the university reached out and said something. But the question is, how many other students have had this happen to them from that instructor or any other instructor on the Oklahoma campus? And what adjustments are being made for them? This just sheds the light, as every one of these small incidents does, sheds the light on a much larger problem across many, many campuses. Yeah. And folks, I hate to break it to you, just because the university is in a, flyover state, a red state, a conservative state, Bible Belt state, whatever you want to call it, don't assume that that university has the same values as you think the state does, because the reality is they don't. Universities are universities, and they are incubators for liberal thought process and indoctrination and all those other things. I don't care what state it's in, and I don't care what school it is. There is that potential there, and this is a great example of, in the heart of America, at the University of Oklahoma, right? Sooners, like, this is happening, and it's happening today as we speak.
And I would hope that this would go without saying. We're not. She didn't write a piece calling transgender people trash or garbage or bad people, or she's saying the belief system and this type of ideology is demonic. She's using biblical reference. She is basing this from a biblical perspective. She's not, and where I'm going with this is that she's basically speaking truth with grace, which is what we should be doing as Christians. We should not be saying hurtful, hateful things towards anyone. But since this is the specific subject, transgender people, we should be speaking in love and truth and biblical truth, which is, what she was doing. That was the essay. That was her position. So this wasn't, some Christian girl, some holy roller attacking anyone. She was asked for her opinion. She based it in scripture. This is what scripture says. This is the perspective of it. Yes, I know the Bible does not use the word transgender. So let's not get on that whole topic. We all know what we're talking about here. So yeah, there's a big difference between, and I would hope that my Christian friends and followers and viewers remember that, that you absolutely all day long speak truth, but do it with grace and compassion and kindness. You don't have to be nice. You have to be kind. Big difference. So yeah, and that's what she was doing. And I applaud her so much, and anyone else who is standing up for themselves that way. And it's so sad that the only way that you can is to make it so public and hope and pray for it to get picked up and people to notice, because otherwise they'll just steamroll you and they'll flunk you, and you have really, very little recourse. Or by the time that you do, whether it goes to court or whatever, so much time has passed and money spent to defend yourself. So sad world that we live in that this is the case, but it is.
Yeah, it's and again, it's happening everywhere. Don't think you're saved by geography. Don't think you're saved by, ideology. This, and folks, even the places where you think that this is the most protected, okay? Notre Dame, right? The preeminent, most prominent Catholic university in the United States has taken all references to Catholicism out of their mission statements. Okay. So this type of mindset is changing everywhere. Yeah. So don't think that just because you're at a quote unquote religious institution, that these things aren't happening. So if you've got college age kids, tell them to, stick to their guns. They will be protected in the long run or in the short run. But we can't let these things go untouched, unpunished, unnoticed, and unresolved.
Absolutely. And being that, well, guys, today is, as usual, we like to give you this reminder each time. Today is Wednesday. We are recording on Wednesday. We will watch this all together on Thursday. And I am wearing this particular shirt because today is 3 months since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. This is in memorandum of him. Well done, faithful servant. And I just wanted to take a moment and just acknowledge that it is 3 months, which is crazy. And every time these little anniversary moments of this come up, I always recall exactly what it's going to be, one of those moments. And I'm sure for a lot of people of the where were you when this happened? And and I was sitting right in this spot prepping for our show, and I got the text from you, and then from that point on it was on. So God bless Charlie Kirk. And next, because I'll start crying, so moving on. Viral claps to Senate dreams Crockett. Oh good, I'm so glad we're moving on. This will
yeah. So
yeah,
let me grab this one and get it started. So as most of us know, Jasmine Crockett from the great state of Texas was a member of the House of Representatives, and since there has been redistricting authorized in Texas, her district has gone away, and therefore her seat with it. So what she has decided to do is run for one of the 2 Senate seats for the great state of Texas. And let me tell you the reverberations that have come out of this. Actually, yeah, let me do that, and then we'll go into it. But so understand that there is a little bit of a heated GOP race. So Senator Cronin is the incumbent. He's almost guaranteed to secure a seat. There hasn't been a Democrat elected for a statewide in a statewide election in 35 years, and the last one was the governor of Texas. But there hasn't been a blue senator from Texas in forever. So there's a Republican there. There's 2 challengers that are coming after him on the Republican side. On the Democrat side, Ms. Crockett declared herself as the people that Republicans are afraid of, that the president is afraid of, that everyone is afraid of. She is going up against a man named Tallarico, who is he's a teacher. He's kind of more of a centrist, or closer. At least he's studying ministry, I think, as a Lutheran. And so his views present themselves as more centrist, but he is a Democrat. Okay. And so there was actually some hope that because he appears or presents as more of a centrist, that he would have a shot at this seat. But now, and he was running against a man named Aldred, who was a former NFL player, who was promising. As soon as Crockett declared, Aldred dropped out. He's like, I'm not even playing this. Now he is flipped over, and he is going to run for a House seat to try and get some blue back into Texas. But she has declared that she is the one to beat, and truthfully, because she's an up and comer in the Democratic Party, they are a little confused as to what they should do about this, because the reality is she might win the Democratic primary. She may beat this guy Tallarico. She's going to get murdered in the statewide election. Right. But she has said she does not need Trump supporters or Republicans to get elected in the state of Texas. Okay. That's how delusional she is. But if you want to see how delusional she is, let's just see her first ad in her campaign to be a U.S. Senator.
So powerful.
They have their new star, Crockett. How about her? She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person.
I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. Crockett. Oh, man. She's a very low IQ person.
Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
I feel like I have to do a parody video of that.
Oh, please. Please do.
I feel like I must. I love that arm crossed. I think I might have some false eyelashes upstairs somewhere. I might have some.
All the way up until the end.
Yeah.
All the way up until the end where it says Crockett for U.S. Senate. you would think that this is a, from Tallarico. You would think this is from Cronin. You would think this is from somebody. That's her own campaign put that together, thinking that is going to help her in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Listen, folks, I've said this. And we're taking AOC into this same, Crockett is the dumbest politician, national level politician. And Hirono's in that group, who is a moron, right? AOC's in that group. There's a whole large group of dumb people. She is, in my opinion, the dumbest of all of them. And her assuming that she can win this seat proves that she just really is that dumb.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I think she'll get, from her own party, she'll get that nomination. She'll be there.
Oh,
she will absolutely be their front runner because,
100%. They have no choice.
Yeah, exactly. There's no choice. She will be the one. Gotta love it. Well, it's going to be entertaining for sure.
Well, it keeps her in the national spotlight. Right. It also helps with funding for the Democrat Party. And that's really what they're using her for. She is a social media darling, not in the state of Texas, in her in her district that doesn't exist anymore, but mostly at the national level, which is why they love her and which is why they're going to keep her at the forefront in any way that they can. She's just not going to be successful. She is, a black female version of Beto O'Rourke for as long as it lasts is what she is. Yeah.
But the irony I'm sure it doesn't escape anyone that for the very same reasons that the left loves her, they're like, she speaks bold truths and she combats racism and she's so charismatic and, are the same things that the right is making fun of because it's all personal insults, race baiting and sound bites. That's it. There's no substance. There is no depth. There's no deep knowledge and understanding of the issues. She's sound bites. That's it. So when it comes down to any kind of debate or any kind of answering any real questions, just the sound bites alone will be fodder for entertainment. But it's just crazy to me. I can't even. It's just laughable, and I appreciate the
Please do the
humor.
video. Please do the video.
Yeah, the video is just amazing, and I definitely will have to replicate that. So stay tuned, guys. It'll happen. Oh, all right. That's all we can say on her. This guy. Well, this is no surprise. Listen, I mean, this is all left run media. If you had asked me beforehand, if he said, "Do you think he's going to get renewed?" I would have said, "Of course he's going to get renewed. Of course he is. There's no question about it." Another year. So he's got another year behind the desk. If there's one thing America was begging for, it's more Trump jokes and lectures from a millionaire Hollywood.
I am surprised he got renewed. Truthfully.
Are you? I was not.
Only because of what's his name? The guy who already got canceled.
I think they had to double down though. I think that's exactly why they had to double down and be like, no, we love this. This is great. This is so funny. We're doing great.
I just, if you watch, Jon Stewart, which Jon hosts one day out of the week, that's the punching bag show, and it's designed that way. It wasn't originally, but it is now. Okay, fine. Colbert, he is done. I really thought that Kimmel was going to go the same way, and Fallon was going to survive because he is the least political of all of the shows. I am surprised. The suspension was not a surprise, but I am surprised that they gave him another year. Truthfully, it may be his last, but don't be surprised if you see a change in content.
That could be.
And that may be part of the contract. The contract may be limitations on what he can and can't say, should and shouldn't say, and back off the politics and make it more entertaining. And we'll see what happens. And so we'll see.
There certainly could have been a lot of I guess negotiating, in the background. I was saying, if you keep me, I'll do this. Or don't make me. I don't know where to go, what to do.
I'll behave, I swear. Just give me another year.
Yep. Oh gosh. Well, I mean, listen, I literally have never watched him. I've obviously seen clips on, social media, and really only for the purpose of, making fun of him or just criticizing the things that he says and does. But that's about it. Never watched him. I did once upon a time watch The Man Show for segments here and there. I thought I'm sorry. I thought The Man Show was kind of funny. Shockingly, it's just like that jaw dropping kind of humor. So I missed that guy. He was pretty funny. He was pretty tolerable. Now, not even remotely. But yeah, I don't know. They can just enjoy their propaganda machine and do what they do, and the people who watch it will continue to watch. And slight segue, and I know we're like just about out of time, but I just want to talk about very quickly, and I'm sorry I didn't mention this beforehand. This just reminded me. This whole Netflix purchasing Warner Brothers, and that is a bad deal for anyone who watches any kind of mainstream stuff. If you think it's bad now, it's only going to get worse with that. So I don't know if they can even stop it at this point. I would hope that they could.
There are going to be efforts to stop it. There has
to be.
Yeah, conglomerate too big. All of those things, too much control over media. So I think that Congress is potentially going to get involved to stop this merger of Netflix buying Warner Brothers and that whole merger. And I'll tell you, there is some concern inside the production side of Hollywood.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because they think if it does get too big, it's going to change everything for everybody. It's going to be so big. It's a non-compete essentially, and you're going to have to follow suit with what they do. Otherwise, you're just not going to survive. So there are some concerns inside Hollywood on what this is going to do to the entire industry. So I'm not betting the farm that it's actually going to go through. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I hope not. And you actually have people, who are normally highly combative to anything, who you would have thought would be all for this, or at least not have a problem. Elizabeth Warren has actually spoken against this as well. So, that's interesting in itself.
Yeah.
So if you're getting joined forces here, which never happens these days, it tells you a lot, really. It tells you how scary that really is.
For sure.
If they're going to join forces. So do we do our last one? Or do we
well, I'll just hit it real quick.
Got it. Okay, let's put this up. I knew you wanted to talk.
Yeah. So baseball, for those of us of our age where we remember the golden age of steroids and juicing within baseball, the Baseball Hall of Fame has essentially unofficially banned the known steroid users, the Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens and others, that whole era of the late 90s that, you either loved or hated baseball. But so those guys, the Barry Bonds and the Roger Clemens and that crowd, are beyond their normal eligibility for the Hall of Fame. They're in what is, the secondary process called the Veterans Committee, where they have to get a certain number of votes from a much smaller voting pool, and their opportunities get further apart. So it's not an every year vote. And they have just been told in the latest voting, you are not eligible for the Hall of Fame. And I think their next opportunity is maybe 3 or 4 years from now, where they will be reconsidered. So baseball is still standing on, whatever morals you think that it has or hasn't. But, let's go back, and Pete Rose is still not in the Hall of Fame. Shoeless Joe Jackson and the White Sox from 1918 are still not in the Hall of Fame. So there are some things that baseball and the baseball writers stand on, whether you agree with them or not. But steroids is one of them where they're not budging. However, the fans want a lot of these players in, and they voice that publicly. They're also voicing support for Colin Kaepernick yet again, which I can't understand. Last weekend, for those of you that do or don't follow sports, the starting quarterback from the Indianapolis Colts blew his Achilles tendon, which was, just the thought of that is gross. So of course, Indianapolis is out searching for backup quarterbacks, and they pulled, a 44-year-old retired quarterback in on Tuesday and worked him out, and they're probably going to sign him. But in the meantime, so many fans have said, why are they not bringing Colin Kaepernick in for a tryout? The guy hasn't, at 44 years old and retired, he's only been retired for a couple of years. Colin Kaepernick hasn't thrown a football in half a decade. I mean, it's been 6 or 7 years, but yet he still amazingly comes up, and it's the fans. It's not even the organizations, because you'll never get support inside the NFL for him, but the fans are bringing him up, that they still want him to get another workout. I will never understand that, or even the support for the steroid folks in baseball. I just, sports fans to me are the, I'm a sports guy.
Yeah. I used to be a sports gal. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much, kind of diversity within this, the sports fandom world. But that one, support for Kaepernick, just blows me away. Can't get it. I don't know.
Yeah. And, if you want to just talk on ability or, stats alone, probably, I'm pretty sure he was kind of crapping out at the end there. He had
one good season. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't get the appeal. If somebody said, well, I just want to talk about his, him as a player, not as a social activist or whatever you want to call him. Yeah, I don't think it was that impressive, guys. That your memory that short, I don't know. I mean,
I can tell you the Colts didn't bring him in.
Yeah, so
he's not
tells
that
you
good.
everything, right?
Yeah.
No,
Yep.
definitely not.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, he's always going to be the start of why we stopped watching football in our home, and that makes me sad.
reason.
And I mean, a great reason, right?
Yeah.
The day he walked out on the training field wearing pig socks, that was it. That was it for me. I was like, I think I'm done.
We'll do it.
So that is it, guys. We covered them all. We threw something extra in there. We will. We're looking forward to joining you guys in the comment section for sure. Clay, you want to close them out?
Yeah. Hey, folks, next week, and we've done this for the last couple of years, we have tried to do something a little bit different in our last show before the holidays, which will be next week. So if you have any, what did we do? We've done favorite Christmas things. We've done lists. We've done all kinds of fun stuff last couple of years. If you have any ideas, something you'd like to see us do, please put it in the comment section. If not, Elsa and I will come up with something. You will probably not get a bunch of politics next week. You'll get something a little lighter, a little more celebratory, a little more holiday focused, but we'll do a different show next week. And then we will take our normal holiday break because Elsa and I like the holidays too. So, but next week should be our annual holiday show, something a little different. And until then, from me, keep moving, keep shooting.
Take care, guys.
Terry Davis wanted a quiet life, the Midwest, a rifle, a little peace. But trouble keeps finding him on every inch of American soil. From cornfields to the Capitol, the enemy hides in the shadows. And when the country needs one man to stand up, Terry does what he's always done. He keeps moving. He keeps shooting. The fight for America has a new battlefield. And he's already in it. The Terry Davis series available now.
From small-town love stories to battles of truth and loyalty, Elsa Kurt's books follow the same heartbeat. Ordinary people facing extraordinary moments. You'll find romance, drama, second chances, even a peek behind the microphone in her newest release. Multiple genres, different worlds, same thread. Bold truth.